Welcome to Vizspire. In this tutorial, we're going to build a professional restaurant analytics dashboard in Excel from raw restaurant data. This dashboard includes a one-click refresh button to update all reports instantly. The last refresh date and time update automatically every time you click the button. At the top, dynamic KPI cards give us a complete view of total sales, total orders, total profit, total customers, average order value, and customer ratings, all in one place. We can analyze monthly sales trends and monthly profit trends, compare sales across different cities, identify the top-selling menu items, and evaluate waiter performance. We'll also analyze food category performance, payment methods, dining types, customer types, and average ratings by category. So let's get started. Here, we have real-world restaurant data that we'll use to analyze sales, customer behavior, and overall performance. Let's first prepare and clean our restaurant dataset to make sure everything is accurate and ready for analysis. First, we'll convert the entire dataset into an Excel table by pressing Ctrl+T. From our existing dataset, we only need to create few important calculated fields. First, let's calculate total sales. Create a new column and multiply quantity by unit price. Then multiply the result by 1 minus the discount percentage, and finally multiply it by 1 plus the tax percentage. This gives us the final sales amount after applying the discount and tax. Next, format the calculated values as currency. Select the $sign and adjust the number of decimal places as needed for a clean and professional look. Next, let's calculate the cost. Here, we'll multiply quantity by unit price and then multiply the result by 50%. Now, let's calculate profit. Subtract cost from total sales. This gives us the profit generated from each transaction. Finally, let's calculate unique customers. We'll use the COUNTIF function to check how many times each customer has appeared in the dataset. If the customer appears for the first time, the formula returns 1. If the customer has already appeared, it returns 0. This allows us to simply add these values later to get the total number of unique customers. With these 4 calculated fields, total sales, cost, profit, and unique customers, our dataset is ready for the next step. So our dataset contains all columns covering all details, clean and properly structured. We're ready to turn this dataset into pivot tables and start building our dashboard. Now go to the Insert tab and click Pivot Table. Choose New Worksheet and click OK. Once the new pivot table sheet is created, rename the sheet as Pivot. Now first, we are going to create the KPI card section using Pivot Tables. In the Pivot Table Fields pane, start by dragging the Total Sales field into the Values section. Next, drag the Order ID field into the Values section so we can get the total number of orders. Then drag the Profit field into the Values section. Next, drag Unique Customer into the Values section. Finally, drag the Rating field into the Values section. For the rating value, we don't want the sum, we need the average rating. So open the Value field settings and change it to Average. Now format the values properly. Adjust the decimal places wherever required. For the sales and profit values, apply the appropriate currency format, and for the other numerical values, use the required number format. Next, we need to create a dynamic table below this pivot table. This table will help us link the pivot table values directly to our KPI cards on the dashboard. First, type all the KPI card titles in one column. For example, total sales, total orders, total profit, customers, average order value, and average rating. Then, in the next column, we will link each KPI value to the corresponding value from our pivot table. For the average order value, we need to calculate the value using total sales divided by total orders. Once all the KPI values are linked, format each value properly. Adjust the decimal places wherever required. For the total sales and profit values, select the cells and go to the number formatting section. Apply the currency format with the $sign and use the required thousands or K format. For average order value, apply the currency format with the $sign and adjust the decimal places as required. Once the formatting is complete, select the entire KPI table and apply full borders so the table is easy to read and visually organized. Our dynamic KPI table is now ready. Before moving to the next pivot table, let's create the main dashboard sheet and build the KPI section visually. This will make it much easier to understand how our dashboard is coming together. Now create a new worksheet and rename it Dashboard. Go to the View tab and turn off grid lines and the formula bar so we can get a clean dashboard workspace. Next, go to Insert, choose Shapes, and insert a large rectangle shape. This will be our main dashboard background. Set the shape to a dark background color and adjust its size so it fits perfectly across the entire dashboard screen area. Make sure there is no unnecessary space around the edges and the dashboard background covers the complete working area. Next, insert another rectangle shape for the header section. Give this header shape a solid fill color using our selected color code. Then adjust the shape outline using the required outline color. Apply a glow effect to the shape. Adjust the glow and shape size so the header looks clean and professional. Now position the header perfectly at the top left side of the dashboard. Once the shape is properly positioned, duplicate it and place the duplicate beside it. Adjust the size and position of this shape according to our dashboard layout. Same way, follow the previous steps to create the slicer and KPI card shapes. We'll speed up this process to save time. Make sure all the shapes are properly aligned and fit perfectly within the dashboard layout. Next, we can add our brand logo and dashboard icons. If you want the icons used in this dashboard, please comment below. Now go to Insert, select Text Box, and create the main dashboard title. Type Restaurant Analytics Dashboard. Format the title font size. Make it bold. Remove the text box fill and set the font color to white. Now position the title perfectly inside the header section. Next, duplicate the text box to create the dashboard subtitle. Rename the subtitle to Track Performance, Analyze Trends, and Improve Customer Experience. Reduce the font size and position it directly below the main dashboard title. Our dashboard header section is now ready. Now let's create the KPI cards. First, add the title for the first KPI card, Total Sales. Then duplicate the same text box and rename it as Total Orders. Continue the same process for the remaining KPI cards, Total Profit, Customers, Average Order Value, and finally, Average Rating. Next, add the icons for each KPI card. We have already inserted the icons, so let's move them into their respective KPI cards. Place each icon according to the KPI title. Adjust the size and position of each icon so it fits perfectly inside its respective KPI card. Now let's add the actual KPI values. Instead of manually typing the values, we are going to link them directly to our dynamic KPI table. Start by duplicating an existing text box. Select the duplicated text box and go to the formula bar. Here, link the text box to the corresponding cell containing our dynamic total sales value from the pivot table KPI table. Now format this KPI value using a 28-point font size, white font color, and bold formatting. Position the value perfectly inside the total sales KPI card. Now duplicate this formatted text box for the next KPI value. For total orders, we don't need to go back and select the pivot table value again. Simply change the cell reference in the formula bar. You can also use the Format Painter to quickly apply the same formatting from the existing KPI value, and the total orders value will update automatically. For example, if the total sales value is linked to B10, change the reference to B11 for the total orders value. Continue the same process for the remaining KPI values. For total profit, change the cell reference to the corresponding profit value in our dynamic KPI table. You can also use the Format Painter to quickly apply the same formatting from the existing KPI value. Next, add the customer's value by changing the cell reference to the customer's value. Then add the average order value using its corresponding cell reference. Finally, add the average rating value using its corresponding cell reference. Make sure every KPI value is linked to the dynamic table rather than being manually typed. This is important because when our pivot table data changes, the KPI values on the dashboard will update automatically. Now we can move to the next section of the dashboard and start creating our pivot tables and charts. Now let's create our first chart, which will be the monthly sales trend. Copy the existing pivot table and place the duplicate beside the original one. This allows us to create the next analysis without affecting our existing KPI pivot table. From the Pivot Table Fields pane, and drag the month field into the rows area. Then drag total sales into the values area. Now let's format the sales values. Since these values can be large, displaying them using a thousands or K format will make the pivot table easier to understand. Before creating the chart, let's prepare the chart area on our dashboard sheet. Go back to the dashboard sheet. Here we are going to create a background shape for each chart. Insert a rectangle shape, adjust its size and position, and place it where we want our monthly sales chart to appear. We can speed up this process by creating the required chart background shapes in advance. Duplicate the shape and arrange the remaining chart areas according to your dashboard layout. Make sure all the shapes are properly aligned and sized so that the charts will fit perfectly inside them. Once all the chart background shapes are ready, go back to the pivot sheet. Select our monthly sales pivot table and go to Insert. Choose the line with markers chart and insert it. Now cut the chart and paste it onto the dashboard sheet. Once the chart is on the dashboard, let's clean up the visual. Hide or remove any unnecessary field buttons and chart elements that we don't need. Turn off the chart fill and chart outline so that our dashboard background shape remains visible behind the chart. Let's format the chart axes. Make the axis text bold and change the font color to white so it is clearly visible against our dark dashboard theme. Next, let's format the line itself. Go to the formatting options for the line and markers. Under the marker options, use the built-in marker settings and increase the marker size to around 7. Change the line color to match our dashboard theme. Then go to the marker formatting options. Set the marker border color to white. Increase the marker border width and adjust the marker appearance so the points are clearly visible. For the chart background, you can also apply a subtle gradient fill to improve the overall visual appearance. Adjust the gradient stops according to your dashboard theme so the chart looks clean and professional. You can also explore the chart design options if you want to make any additional visual adjustments. Now let's add the chart title and rename it. Monthly Sales Trend. Format the title according to our dashboard theme and position it perfectly above the chart. Next, add a suitable icon beside the chart title to make the section more visually attractive. Now turn on data labels so viewers can easily see the actual sales values. Format the data labels using a bold font and white font color. Make sure the chart, title, icon, labels, and background shape are all properly aligned. Our first chart is now complete. This monthly sales trend helps us quickly understand how restaurant sales are changing over time and identify stronger and weaker sales periods. Now let's create our monthly profit trend. Now change the value field from total sales to profit. Rename the analysis title as Monthly Profit. For this pivot table, we don't need the thousands or K format. We can use the normal number format and apply the appropriate currency format with the $sign. Now select this pivot table and go to Insert. Choose a clustered column chart and insert it. Cut the chart and move it to the dashboard sheet. Place it inside the next chart background shape we created earlier. Now remove the unnecessary chart elements and field buttons. Turn off the chart fill and outline, and resize the chart so it fits perfectly inside the background shape. Next, format the axes. Make the axis values bold and change the font color to white. Now go to the Format Data Series options. Adjust the gap width to around 70% so the columns have a clean and balanced appearance. Change the column color to match our dashboard theme. Next, turn on data labels and format them using a bold font and white font color. Now add the chart title using a text box and rename it Monthly Profit Trend. Add a suitable icon beside the title and adjust the title and icon so they are perfectly aligned. Our second chart is now complete. This monthly profit trend shows how the restaurant's profitability changes over time and helps us identify months with stronger or weaker profit performance. Now let's create our third chart, which will be Sales by Category. Rename the analysis title as Category Sales. From the Pivot Table Fields pane, remove the fields we don't need and drag Food category into the Rows area. Then drag Total Sales into the Values area. Now format the total sales values using a custom thousands or K format so the values are easier to read. Once the pivot table is ready, go to Insert and choose a donut chart. Insert the chart, then cut and paste it onto the dashboard sheet. Place it inside the next chart background shape. Now clean up the chart by removing all unnecessary field buttons and elements. Go to the donut formatting options and set the donut hole size to around 50%. Turn off the chart fill and outline if required, and resize the chart so it fits perfectly inside our chart background shape. Next, format the legend. Make the legend text bold and change the font color to white. If the legend or other text looks too small, increase the font size so everything remains clearly visible. Now add the chart title using a text box and rename it Sales by Category. Add a suitable icon beside the title. We can also place a relevant icon inside the center of the donut hole to make the visual more attractive. Resize the icon so it fits neatly inside the center without covering the chart information. If the chart header takes up too much space, you can slightly reduce the title font size and adjust its alignment so the entire chart area looks balanced. And that's it. Our first 3 charts are now completed. These 3 visuals give us an initial view of the restaurant's sales trend, profitability trend, and category-wise sales performance. Next, let's create the city-wise sales chart. Now remove the fields we don't need and drag the city field into the rows area, then drag total sales into the values area. Now select the pivot table and go to Insert and choose a column chart. Once the chart is created, let's sort the pivot table based on total sales. We can sort the values either in ascending or descending order. For this chart, we want to show the highest performing cities first, so we'll sort the total sales values in descending order. Cut it and paste it into the dashboard sheet. Remove all unnecessary field buttons and other elements from the chart. Turn off the chart fill and outline, then resize the chart so it fits perfectly inside the dashboard chart area. Now format the axis. Make the axis text bold and change the font color to white so it matches our dashboard theme. Next, turn on data labels and format them using a bold font with white font color. Go to Format Data Series and set the gap width to around 100% so the columns have a clean and balanced appearance. Now give the bars a suitable color that matches our dashboard theme. Next, add a text box for the chart title and rename it City-Wise Sales. Add a suitable icon beside the chart title and adjust the title and icon so they are perfectly aligned. Our City-Wise Sales chart is now complete. This chart helps us compare sales performance across different cities and quickly identify which locations are generating the highest revenue. Go back to the pivot sheet and create another copy of the pivot table. Now let's create our top 5 quantity selling items chart. Remove the unnecessary fields and drag item name into the rows area, then drag quantity into the values area. We are now going to analyze which menu items have the highest quantity sold. Now go to Insert and choose a bar chart. Once the chart is created, we can sort the pivot table either in ascending or descending order. For this particular analysis, we'll use the sorting option based on quantity so that we can identify the highest selling items. Cut it and paste it into the dashboard sheet. Remove all unnecessary field buttons and chart elements. Turn off the chart fill and outline. Now format the axis. Make the axis text bold and change the font color to white. Go to Format Data Series and set the gap width to around 100%. Choose a suitable bar color that matches our dashboard theme. Then resize the chart and position it perfectly inside the available dashboard area. Next, turn on data labels. Here we may see that the quantity values are displayed using 1000 or K format. Since this is quantity, we want to show it as a normal number rather than using a compact K format. So go back to the pivot table and change the quantity number formatting to a normal general or number format. Once the pivot table formatting is updated, return to the chart and make sure the data labels are displaying the quantities correctly. Now add the chart title and rename it Top 5 Quantity Selling Items. Add a suitable icon beside the chart title and position it properly. Our Top 5 Quantity Selling Items chart is now complete. This chart highlights the menu items with the highest quantities sold, helping us understand which products are most popular with customers. Now let's create the Top Waiter Performance chart. Go back to the pivot sheet and create another copy of the existing pivot table. Remove the item name field and drag waiter into the rows area. Then drag total sales into the values area. Since the sales values can be large, apply our custom thousands or K number format to the total sales values so they are easier to read. Now we'll create a column chart from this pivot table. Go to Insert and choose a column chart. Now sort the pivot table in descending order by total sales so that the highest performing waiter appears first. Once the top 5 filter and sorting are applied, cut the chart and paste it into the dashboard sheet. Remove all unnecessary field buttons and chart elements. Turn off the chart fill and chart outline. Now format the chart axes. Make the axis text bold and change the font color to white. You can also give the chart a suitable bar or column color that matches our dashboard theme. Next, turn on data labels and format them using a bold font with white font color. Go to Format Data Series and set the gap width to around 100%. For the axis and other supporting elements, use a light color that remains clearly visible against the dashboard background. Adjust the chart size and position one final time so it fits perfectly within the dashboard layout. Now add a text box for the chart title and rename it Top Waiter Performance by Sales. Add a suitable icon beside the title and align everything properly. Our Top Waiter Performance chart is now complete. This chart compares waiter performance based on total sales and helps us quickly identify our top-performing waiters. With these 3 charts completed, we now have a stronger view of city performance, best-selling menu items, and waiter performance. Now let's create our next chart, which is Payment Methods Distribution. Go back to the pivot sheet and duplicate the existing pivot table. Remove the existing fields that we don't need and drag Payment Method into the Rows area. Keep Total Sales in the Values area. Now go to Insert and choose a donut chart. Once the chart is created, cut it and paste it into the dashboard sheet. Now remove all the unnecessary field buttons and chart elements. Set the donut hole size to around 50% from the Format Data Series options. Remove the chart fill and outline. Next, format the legend. Change the legend font color to white and make it clearly visible. Then resize the chart and position it perfectly inside our dashboard shape. We can also give each section of the donut chart a suitable color so that the different payment methods are easy to distinguish. Now let's add our icons. Place a suitable icon in the center of the donut hole. Then add another suitable icon beside the chart title in the header section. Now add the chart title and rename it. Payment Methods Distribution. Position the title and icon perfectly. Turn on data labels and format them using a bold font with white font color. Our Payment Methods Distribution chart is now complete. This chart shows how customers are distributing their purchases across different payment methods and helps us understand the most commonly used payment options. Now let's create our next chart, Delivery Type Distribution. Go back to the pivot sheet and duplicate the existing pivot table. Remove the existing field and drag Delivery Type into the Rows area. Keep Total Sales in the Values area. Now go to Insert and choose a donut chart. Cut the chart and paste it into the dashboard sheet. Follow the same formatting process we used for the previous donut chart. Remove all unnecessary field buttons and chart elements. Remove the chart fill and outline and set the donut hole size to around 50%. Resize the chart and position it perfectly inside the dashboard shape. If required, give each section of the donut chart a suitable color so the delivery types are clearly distinguishable. Turn on data labels and format them using a bold font with white font color. Now add a suitable icon in the center of the donut chart. Add another relevant icon beside the chart title in the header section. Add the chart title and rename it Delivery Type Distribution. Adjust the title, icon, chart, legend, and labels so everything is properly aligned. This chart helps us understand which delivery types contribute the most to our sales and gives us a quick view of customer delivery preferences. Now let's create our next chart, Customer Type. Go back to the pivot sheet and duplicate the existing pivot table. Remove the Delivery Type field and replace it with Customer Type in the Rows area. Keep Total Sales in the Values area. Now go to Insert and select a donut chart. Cut and paste the chart into the dashboard sheet. Follow the same formatting process we've already used. Remove all unnecessary field buttons and chart elements. Turn off the chart fill and outline. Adjust the donut hole size. Format the legend using a bold font and white font color. Change the donut section colors if required, so the different customer types are easy to identify. And resize the chart so it fits perfectly inside the dashboard shape. Turn on data labels and format them using a bold font and white font color. Add a suitable icon in the center of the donut chart and another relevant icon beside the chart title. Now add the chart title and rename it. Customer type. Adjust the chart, title, icons, legend, and labels so everything is perfectly aligned within the dashboard area. This chart shows the sales contribution from different customer types and helps us understand which customer segments are driving restaurant revenue. Now let's create our final chart, average rating by category. Go back to the pivot sheet and create another copy of the pivot table. Remove the existing fields and drag food category into the rows area. Then drag rating into the values area. Because we want the average rating rather than the total rating, open Value Field Settings and change the calculation to Average. Now go to Insert and choose a column chart. Remove all unnecessary field buttons and chart elements. Place the chart on the dashboard sheet. Turn off the chart fill and outline. Turn on data labels and format them appropriately so they are clearly visible. Choose a suitable column color that matches our dashboard theme. Resize the chart and position it perfectly inside the dashboard shape. Adjust the column spacing and chart size so the visual fits perfectly inside the dashboard shape. Now add a suitable icon beside the chart title. Add the title and rename it. Average rating by category position. The title, icon, chart, and labels perfectly. This chart compares the average customer rating across different food categories and helps us identify which categories are delivering the best customer experience. And with that, all of our dashboard charts are now completed. Now let's add the interactive slicers that will allow users to filter the entire dashboard. Go to the dashboard sheet and insert a slicer. For the first slicer, choose Month. Then insert the next slicer and select Dining Type. Create another slicer for City. Select all three slicers and paste or apply our already customized slicer theme. Now position the slicers inside the dedicated slicer section of the dashboard. Adjust their size, spacing, and alignment so all the slicers look consistent and fit perfectly within the dashboard layout. Once the slicers are positioned correctly, we need to connect them to all of our pivot tables. Right-click the first slicer and select Report Connections. Here we can see all of our pivot tables. Select all the pivot tables so that this slicer controls every chart and KPI that is connected to our dashboard. Now repeat the same process for the second slicer. Choose Report Connections, select all the pivot tables, and click OK. Now all our slicers are connected to the complete dashboard. Finally, we need to configure our refresh icon. Remember the refresh icon we added earlier in the header? Now we'll assign the refresh macro to it. Right-click the refresh icon and choose Assign Macro. Select the refresh macro that we created for updating the dashboard data. Now our refresh button is ready. When we click the refresh icon, the dashboard will automatically refresh the data and see how the entire dashboard responds. And check how the sales, profit, category, customer, payment, and other analysis visuals update dynamically. Everything is now connected and working together. Our restaurant analytics dashboard is finally complete. This is a complete, dynamic, and beginner-friendly restaurant analytics dashboard built step by step in Excel.